Always try, if you can, to think about subjects that you'll be typically thinking about in a certain way, in a different light, in the way that, like, for example, a psychologist or a psychoanalyst would think about it. I know psychoanalysis is not, in fashion. It's not. Freud is not in fashion, but I think it's very, very misunderstood, and probably because we're out of context, we're out of cultural context of what was going on at the time where he was writing and when he was speaking. Plus, he wrote in German, right? And he wrote in slightly arcane, intellectual, pompous, as everybody at that time all across the world did. He wrote his native language in a rather pompous and arcane way, as English speakers would do in the same field. If I could invite people maybe to see it like as a bit more psychedelic, a bit more mystical, and a little bit more subjective than we think of it. So I say to you terms like id, ego, and superego, and I think for a lot of people, like, ugh, what the fuck is this? Like, what's a superego? That's like an ego that's super powerful. That's a narcissist, right? A narcissist has is egoic and super. It's like, no, but there is no. That's the language. That's the language that was used when we're considering parental love. I think it's useful to think about it the way that he would have done, the way that Freud would have done, which was subjectively. A lot of his work came from introspection, which is one step away from meditation and visualization. He went back into his own childhood. He saw the world through the eyes of a child and felt the impulses as though he was still a child. It's an amazing thing that he did, because though I wouldn't trust him with any client of mine, because he was not of a healing, he just didn't have a healing mindset. He was a machine of analysis. He was definitely a genius. He was definitely a genius. Love him, hate him, he's politically incorrect, whatever, the guy was saying things that nobody was saying. And even people who are disparaging of Freud openly today don't realize that the schools of thought and psychology that they're from stand on the shoulders of Freud and psychoanalysts who came after Freud. Think of the world the way that Freud was thinking of the world as for a child, like through a child's eyes, through children's impulses. Be introspective, be subjective. Think back to when you were a kid. All that weird, hard to put into words world that we inhabited when we were children, that to us felt, or looking back feels, odd, very eccentric. Like the child's worldview is eccentric, it's magical, it's full of magical fetishes. When Freud is talking about fetish, it's come to mean something that's sexual, but actually it just means something that an externalized object that through magical thinking is imbued with power. And our internal worlds when we were kids were full of these things. We engaged in magical thinking. If I do this, this, and this, then I'll get the thing I want for Christmas. If I do this and this and this, or I don't do this, my dad won't come home tonight. Whatever it was. Parental love in that odd little world that we inhabit as kids. Think of it pre-linguistically, pre-ideology. So I say to you parental love, and you go, oh, parental love. Yeah, that's a concept, linguistic concept. It's out there. So I invite you to be like Freud, not to listen to Freud or obey him, but to think as he thought, model his method. So be the child again, with all the weirdness, the dark, as in not as in evil, but unconscious, not yet formulated impulses and ideas, and just think what that meant. What did it mean if your mum showed you love? What did it mean if your dad showed you love? You're in the realm of the primitive. You're in the realm of the pre-conscious. You're in the realm of like ego formation back then, and it's still developing. And your parents, your primary caregivers, are showing you, whether they like it or not, or whether they're conscious of it or not, how to construct your internal reality. To use the psychiatric language, and I think it's originally psychoanalytic language, to show you whether you are a good object or a bad object, an object of affection or an object of disdain. And that is then internalized. The messages that we receive overtly and subliminally from our primary caregivers, from the environment when we're very young and our neuroplasticity is very high, formulate our sense of self in the world. If they induce shame, then our personality, our ego formation is shameful. If they induce terror, then our ego formation and our personality formation, our internal world, even if the terror is removed, was formed by terror, was created in response to terror. And you might go, but I'm not an anxious person. And I would say, no, that's not necessarily how it works. I'm not a shameful person. You might genuinely not be. You might have been dipped in shame as a kid and actually not struggle with toxic shame now. But your worldview, like rock formations and volcanoes and canyons, and then you get these clever people called geologists, and they dig into the rock and they can see history through the layers, through the soil, through the rock. They can tell us what's happened in different time periods through the form. It's like if the earth was blasted with this many layers down, then we know at that time there was, I don't know, a fucking asteroid strike that smashed the earth up, or that burnt all of the animals and all of the plants, because we have a layer of bones, we have a layer of dead plants, we have a layer of crushed bones, whatever, right? It's a formative experience, and it terraforms the alien, eccentric, weird little planet that is you. Your soil formation is different. That which can grow there on your planet is not necessarily what can grow on mine. And that which thrives on your planet might not be what thrives on my planet, and vice versa. You have things that you can do that if I try to, you can do them with one eye closed and an arm tied behind your back. And if I try to do them, I'll have a meltdown, or I'll get irritated, or whatever. These are the things that count at the deeper level. When psychiatrists and psychoanalysts get all spooky about deep-seated childhood trauma, this is why, because they're looking at a vast landscape. We're not saying, so if I say to a psychiatrist or a psychoanalyst or a psychotherapist, here is a building, can you knock it down? Yes. Can you build a new one here? Yes, we're trained to do that. Here is a planet that was damaged, like the soil is fucked. What do you do? And they go, drugs to make you feel better. They get spooky, they get freaked out, and rightly so, because it's hard. It's really, really hard, but it's not impossible. And I think one of the things that makes it hard is the way that we frame it and the limitations that we set on to the healing process. But having respect for the broad scale effects of this kind of experience is important. The way your parents treated you is how you treat yourself, is what you consider normal, and what you consciously and unconsciously seek throughout your adult life. The way your environment treated you when you grew older, when you went to school, when you're involved in institutions, the way authority figures treated you, become the way that you treat yourself. They become hyper normalized. Hyper-normalization is a process whereby anything, no matter how weird, no matter how bizarre, no matter how eccentric, becomes part of your normal if you're exposed to it for long enough. Human beings have an amazing capacity to adapt. How wonderful for us. We are the apex predators on this planet, sine qua non, undoubtedly, unquestionably, amazing creatures. But what keeps us amazing? What keeps us the apex predator sine qua non? Imagination and consciousness. Imagination and consciousness. You could argue that memory is an intrinsic part of that. What fucks us up in trauma? I mean, you talk CPTSR or PTSD, it's all trauma. A meteor hits the earth. It's huge, it's heavy, gouges the earth and burns everything around it. And there is a huge scar there. What do you do? This is all I do all day, every day, by the way, is I have people coming to me going, I have this huge fucking wound here. What do I do? I'm going, well, we'll have to see. We'll have to try this. We'll have to try this. We'll have to try this, because it's different for every person. I almost have to try and find as many different solutions as there are people, but it works on similar principles. Time and again, it works on similar principles. When you're talking about trauma and response to trauma, we have to find a way to make that wound, that scar, a part of the planet. That gouge in the earth needs to become a part of our terrain. If we reject it and refuse it, it is us. It is part of our terrain. We reject and refuse ourselves, no less than when we have a parent who rejects and refuses us. What you want is wrong, disgusting, and dirty. What you are is wrong, disgusting, and dirty, says the parent to the child. Now I live on a planet where I am disgusting, wrong, and dirty. Guess what? I may develop behavioral patterns over the years that cause me to continue to judge myself as disgusting, wrong, and dirty. I may develop behavioral patterns over the years that cause my family to reject me for being disgusting, wrong, and dirty, for my culture to reject me. And God knows, in the end of the day, it may even be my state, my nation, the legal system. I wonder how many people on death row right now have been through this kind of a process where their internal world was so scarred and they were made to feel like such monsters that they couldn't help but manifest it. And that's not to say that they don't belong on death row and that they don't deserve to die. But that's a political issue. I'm not against capital punishment. There are some people that we can't help. There are some people that I think can't be reached. How do we deal with it? If we reject it and we reject ourselves, we stay sick. I have been banging the drum of emotional literacy for a long time, and actually it's worked. It's worked. A huge number of people have come on board with that, and a huge number of people it's really, really helped. I think the way I'm framing it, though, frightens an awful lot of people, and I need to find a new way. We all know euphemistically, and it's like a corny cliche, you can't love anybody else unless you love yourself. You can't move forward in life unless you can show yourself love. But not only is that a corny cliche to be thrown out, if you never were really loved, it's pointless telling you that, because all you're going to do is try and reach for some weird fake version of what you think loving yourself would look like. And then it's going to become even cornier and even more cliched and weirder and cringier. And then you'll have people lighting candles and looking in the mirror and saying, I'm a unique and precious unicorn, and only I have the rainbow poopy. I don't think that's particularly helpful. The way our parents treated us, the way our environment treated us, is the way we treat ourselves. If they rejected us, if the environment rejected us, we're going to tend to reject ourselves. Not engaging with the emotional literacy is self-rejection. You will not heal if you're rejecting yourself. The success of dialectical behavioral therapy to treat alleged borderlines, who I suspect are people who have CPTSD, relies heavily on a wonderful principle that Marsha Linehan took hold of and ran with, which is radical acceptance. You don't have to accept that it was right. You don't have to accept that it's just. You don't have to accept the people who did it, but you do have to accept that it happened, at least for now. I think that's what they say in DBT. You have to accept it, at least for now. Jocko Willink, the Navy SEAL, has written a book called Extreme Ownership. And it talks from a completely different angle, but embracing the same principles, which is if you don't engage in extreme ownership. So if you're a commander of a SEAL team and something goes wrong, no matter what, you as the commander should say, I am responsible for that. And he doesn't say it this way, but I'm saying it this way as somebody who's involved in psychology, because it internalizes your locus of control and doesn't externalize it. If you embrace toxic passivity and you embrace victimhood culture because of the shiny baubles and the cookies you think you're going to get from that, you're making a mistake, a really bad one, because you're externalizing your locus of control and you will not heal. You'll be watching stupid Spartan life coach videos and other people's videos on YouTube for the rest of your life, for the rest of the time you've got on the planet. Radical acceptance brings people with CPTSD, and who maybe they do have BPD, brings people to a place that they really don't want to be to. And it's critical. It's critical to the recovery from CPTSD, and it's critical to the maintenance of that particular personality disorder to externalize the locus of control. An externalized locus of control just says, it's like an abrogation of responsibility. It's not me. It's not me. I didn't do it. It's not happening to me. How would that begin? Well, if you were victimized heavily in your formative years, that will become your self-perception. I'm a victim. It's being done to me. Life is something that is done to me by powerful agents, by externalized others, but it's not me. I don't have any agency. I don't have any sovereignty. Who else would say that? A torture victim, a kidnap victim, somebody who'd been locked up. You don't have any agency. You don't have any sovereignty. You're stuck. Just give in. It will be easier for you if you give in. Okay, so there we are. We find ourselves in this place. What is the route out? Radical acceptance. Or as Jocko Willink would have it, extreme ownership. Whatever happens, it's within my realm of control to take responsibility for it and to do something about it. And then people will say, oh my God, you're suggesting that we forgive our abusers. Well, not here. I'm not saying it's necessary here, though it may be necessary to have a frank discussion about that at some point. My God, are you suggesting that we take responsibility when we're the victims? Is this victim blaming? No, I didn't say it's your fault. I didn't say it's your fault. And you can't take responsibility for things that happened to you when you had no agency. But you can take responsibility for who you are today. And responsibility shouldn't be a negative word. It's your ability to respond. I want responsibility because responsibility is power. Everybody nowadays is talking rights. I've got my rights. There's no such thing on God's green earth as a right without responsibility. Responsibility, good. Rights, good. Both are good. What do we have? People who want all of their rights and none of their responsibilities. That is an externalized locus of control. The meteor already hit the planet. The earth is already gouged. It was terrible. You didn't ask for it. Nobody warned you the meteor was coming. It was an extra big meteor. It was really hot. It burned all the vegetation around and killed all the wildlife around. Left radiation there. Nothing could grow for years. Okay. But there it is. And whilst you fight it and hate it and reject it, it festers. I've been saying to people, but I don't think there's a certain percentage of people who can't hear me. There's no such thing as in the context of emotional literacy, there's no such thing as a negative emotion. You've really got to fight to get that brainwashing undone. I mustn't feel anger. If I feel anger today, I'm not recovering. I would rather tell myself I'm recovering and pretend I'm not angry. If I feel sadness today, I'm sliding backwards. I couldn't bear that thought, so I don't feel sadness today. I felt jealousy today. My God, it's against my self-image. What an ugly emotion. It's just messages. They're just messages. You're receiving messages from messengers. Don't reject them, because they will come back and knock louder and louder and louder. And the more these emotions are pushed away, pushed aside, and suppressed, the more likely they are to reappear again as anxiety, as depression, as a lack of a will to thrive, as indecisiveness, as procrastination, as overeating, as any other addiction, because you're not alive. You don't get to choose, sorry, which emotions are going to come up. These are your survival instincts. This is how you connect to presence. This is how you connect to who you are. This is how you connect to the animal in you. I had this thought recently. I'm walking around and I'm going, the animal in me knows the animal in you, and the animal in you knows the animal in me. A lot of very muted animals around me. Very, very muted animals around me. Trying to tell me that they're wild. I'm a savage tiger. I'm a wild bear. Going, oh, are you? That's cute. Yeah, you're a savage tiger. Yeah, you're the wild bear. Come here, you little rascal. Rawr! I'm a wild tiger. Rawr! Okay. Scared of your own fucking shadow, but you're a wild tiger. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Accept what's happened. Accept the feelings that go with it. The emotional literacy, the key moment when you're doing an emotional literacy exercise that will free you is when you look at a list of emotions and choose one and say, this, I felt this today. I felt this today, and that's okay. That's the key moment. Everything else after that is good, and it will speed your healing process, and it will make sure when you heal, there's no backsliding. I've said this elsewhere. I'll say it again. The stop emotional flashbacks exercise is great, but there is a chance that you'll have to go back and do it again. If you crank your emotional literacy for 6 months or a year, you won't backslide, because you won't be the you that you are right now anymore. Your whole personality formation will shift. The terrain, like we're doing terraforming here. How do we change the terrain? How do we change? We're not just knocking down houses and building new ones here. We're changing the terrain. We're changing the pH of the soil. We're making it so that new things can grow. We're making it so that anything can fucking grow. Why? Because when you are emotionally illiterate, you are in denial of yourself. You're rejecting who you are. I want to be present. I want to be successful. I want to be in a loving relationship. Okay. Okay, kid. Anything else? Anything else that Santa should put in his bag for you and just bring and lay at your fucking feet? Anything else, kid? Write your list. Write your list of what you want. Keep telling people what it is that you want, and then keep telling them you're not getting there. This is really weird. I'm not getting where I'm trying to. Why is that? Why is that now? Why would that be? Total fucking denial of how you feel. And when you're in denial of how you feel and your emotions, you're in denial of who you are. And the animal inside of you starts to die because you've got it in a super tight cage and it's not comfortable and you're not comfortable. I see you guys and girls when you're messaging me, when you're emailing me, when you're leaving comments here. The agitation levels are high. You're not comfy and you're not happy. So I say, hey, try to do something. Yeah, I don't want to do that. There's another guy over here who's shown me an easier way. Is that working for you? Is it? Yeah, that way works. Why do you keep watching these videos? I just think you're funny sometimes. Okay. Okay, kid. Okay, kid. I hear you. You're a wild ass tiger. You're a big, scary bear and you're doing just fine and everything's fine. Okay. We get to choose. We get to choose. You can carry on as things are now, but I warn you, the best indication of what your next 5 years is going to look like is what your last 5 years looked like. That's your best indication 99.9% of the time for 99.9% of humans all across the planet. Don't think you're an exception. You're not. There is a way that humans act without fairly drastic transcendental change. Things stay the same for people. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it's not the most fun. I tell you to do an emotional literacy exercise, you do it once and it didn't fix everything. So you're pissed off. You come to a seminar of mine and literally demand magic words from me. I had somebody do that recently. Just give me the magic words. And she was frustrated with me. And she was agitated with me and angry with me because she felt like the whole 2-hour seminar where I was talking about Freud and Jung and these concepts, she feels like I'm hiding the truth. Just tell me the magic words. Okay. Abra fucking cadabra. Abracadabra. Didn't work. Well, you don't believe hard enough. You need to really believe. Go away and work on your belief. You want me to start running a cult? I'll fucking tell you about thetans attached to your nipples if it makes you fucking happy. I'll tell you there's 7 levels of a pyramid in another dimension that we all have to go and climb to suck the intergalactic space grid's milky tentacles. If you like, I can do all that. People are begging for a fucking cult leader. They're begging for this to turn into a cult. But I'm one stubborn motherfucker. And I'm like, nope, nope. You do you. Because I'm doing me. And I'm all right. You do you. Take out a pen and a piece of paper and write down adjectives that describe how you feel. It's so simple. It's so simple and so easy to do. Just say, today I felt this. One emotion. You can start with one emotion that you felt. You're opening a gateway to higher consciousness. It is literal magic. Write it down with a pen. Don't fucking do it in notes. Don't do it on a Word document. Take out a fucking pen that squirts ink out of the end and scribble it on a piece of paper and then look at what you scribbled. You just did a spell. This is the beginning. Keep going. Just keep going with that. It's terraforming. We're going to redesign the planet, but there's only one way to do it because you need that neuroplasticity. Stop asking me if fucking EMDR works. Stop asking me if fucking hypnosis works when I'm sat here going blue in the face saying, please, 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 please do the emotional literacy exercises. Just do it. Engage with your emotions. Oh, what about if I did Qigong and microdosed DMT and then listened to Joe Rogan backwards whilst doing Bikram yoga? Oh, fuck, you're right. I'm sorry. I don't know why I was wasting your fucking time telling you that emotions were the key gateway to help you heal. I must be some crazy, pedantic, time wasting fuck who just likes winding people up. That's why I've been telling you to do the emotional literacy exercises. The whole thing, it was actually Joe Rogan backwards, Bikram yoga, microdosing DMT. I can't remember the first thing I said. I bet you if I set up a class doing that in fucking California, people would come. They'd be like, man, have you heard about this new thing? This is how you heal trauma. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's how you heal trauma. Anything but your emotions. Please, not my heart, not my fucking heart. Oh no, anything. Astrology with Scientology, with hypnosis, with, I don't know, fucking Rosicrucian. Oh, Sufism. Oh, have you read this book about Sufism? Oh, anything other than being present and feeling your feelings, your feelings, your feelings, not that cunt on the telly's feelings. Turn the fucking TV off. Your feelings in your body. You're telling yourself every day, I don't count. Kim Kardashian counts. Kim Kardashian counts. I'm going to speak like Kim. And everybody tries to fucking talk like that. And I'm going, what the fuck are we doing? What are we fucking doing as a species? What the fuck is going on? This is insane. It's really like we've hit this point where we're just going, fuck it. Let's massively reduce the population. Will we do war? No, we did war. Will we do disease? No, we did disease. What should we do? Just become jellyfish. We just become jellyfish and just rot on the couch. What killed this generation? They just all rotted on the couch. Look, here's a brown paper bag. Do you ever listen to Ronnie Size, Brown Paper Bag? One of the greatest drum and bass tracks of all time. When you understand the deeper meaning of Ronnie Size, Brown Paper Bag, you need to listen to that whilst reading the Kabbalah upside down. Or you could take out a pen and a piece of paper and say, today I felt frustrated. Today I felt fucking frustrated. I drove from London to Liverpool, and a 3.5 hour journey took me 6 hours and 15 minutes. Today I felt frustrated. Today I felt sad. Today I felt angry. Oh, what? You're the Spartan life coach, man. You felt sad and angry. Fuck. The whole project is ruined. Jesus. Everybody watch this video quickly because I'm deleting the channel tomorrow. Yes, I felt sad and I felt angry. I felt sad. I felt angry. I felt frustrated. I felt amused. I was listening to Slavoj Žižek for fucking 6 hours on podcast. So Slavoj was with me all day. So I felt amused. Then I felt hopeful. Then the motorway was raining. The sat-nav took me off the motorway and took me through the countryside again. So I got to drive through countryside in West Midlands and in Cheshire. And then I felt better again. What did I feel at that point? Relaxed, peaceful, connected, optimistic. Something else I felt. Must have felt better because I drove straight to the gym. It's like I've been sat for 6 hours feeling all these things. Let me get the gym. You guys should do something as well. You know, you should have some kind of physical activity going on. Oxygenate the blood. Move. Listen to music and move. That will really help. It will really, really help. Listen, I don't want to shout at you, but it is part of my job to move you in the right direction. And I see a lot of people vacillating and a lot of people masturbating. Intellectually, I mean. I'm not watching. I can see so many people masturbating. These cameras, by the way, they're two-way. Yeah, I can see all of you. Get your finger out your nose. I can see you all. It's like everybody watching this is like that. Fucking hell, maybe you can. Sudden ideas, reference, paranoid delusions. I could see people just going round and round in circles, really trying hard not to do what needs to be done, and it will still be there for you tomorrow to do. And all that will happen is you're one day older. So just do it. Trust yourself. You can experience sadness without becoming sadness and losing yourself. You can experience anger. You can experience frustration without losing yourself and becoming these emotions. There is a really perverted ideology that we live in now where we're supposed to be happy all the time. Zizek called this the superego injunction to enjoy. And it's a facet of consumer capitalism and materialism. You're not supposed to be happy all the time. What did Winona Ryder say in Heathers? The only people who are happy every day are game show hosts. Or maybe Christian Slater said it. Well, one of the two said it in Heathers. The film Heathers. The film Heathers. Come on, Gen X. You know what I'm talking about. Nobody's supposed to be happy every day. That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Maybe if you were lobotomized or something. Or you were plugged into the Matrix. Official blue pill. Feel your feelings. Feel them. That's the only way to be present. It's the only way to heal. And it's the only way to deal with what's happened. Don't reject what's happened. Accept it. Accept it all. All of it. All of it. Really? Yes, really. All of it. You don't know what happened to me? I probably do. You've never heard a story like mine? I've been doing this for 7 years. Every day. Believe me, I've heard a lot. Somebody said that to me the other day. You don't know about PTSD comorbid with this and that and incest and violent assault. And I'm like, what do you think I do? Like, what do you think I do every day? You're saying this in an environment where you're surrounded by people. Everybody has CPTSR, but you're surrounded by people with CPTSR. You're surrounded by people who are raised in, ACE, adverse childhood environments. You don't own it. You don't own suffering. You don't own the experience of pain. Who the hell do you think you are? A Cenobite from Hellraiser. I own all the suffering, Kirsty. No tears, please. Right, I'll take a question. It should be a sentence long and it should end in a question mark. Love your whole self. Yes. All of you. All of the feelings. Please, can you go through any more emotional literacy exercises that specifically help the empath? Yeah, there's an emotional, the empath / codependent. The emotional literacy exercise that's specifically for the empath or codependent is as follows. You take out a pen and a piece of paper, and you can look up a list of emotions if you want, or you can type into Google color wheel of emotions. And specifically for the empath or the codependent, you start by choosing 3 adjectives that describe emotions. And specifically for the empath or codependent, you write them down on the piece of paper and you say in your own head, these are the emotions I felt today. I hope that was useful. I need a husband. Do you know someone nice? I don't. Oops, everything's moving very fast. A lot of people are asking me questions. How do you bring up mental health in dating? I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't. It's a pretty heavy subject for a date. I'd keep it light for dates. Keep it light. Why can't I stop hyper focusing on the abuser? Because it's biological. It's not your fault. They made themselves important to you, and so your brain, your threat assessment part of the brain is going, that is significant. That is where dragons come from. That is where predators come from. Be careful. Be careful. Which is how, it's a cheap trick that abusers use. They'll make themselves significant by traumatizing you. If I traumatize you, I bond you to me. If I shout at you in a YouTube video, I bond you to. I'm joking. Do your fucking emotional exercises. I'm bonded to. Do you think guilt is something people can accept? I hear a lot of don't being responsible. I can't accept that. Yeah, I think people can accept guilt. Absolutely. Yeah. How do I accept pain in for the rest of my life? Pain and what? Do you think there's a difference between heartbreak and depression? Yes. Heartbreak is the pain of being forcefully detached from somebody that you're attached to. Depression, strictly speaking, can only really come about from the suppression of authentic emotions. So if we say repress, 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 don't feel, don't feel, don't feel, then usually the end result would be depression. Heartbreak would lead to depression if you weren't grieving effectively. Depression would also be related to hopelessness and probably a deeply wounded sense of self. I think if the heartbreak really knocks the confidence out of you and beats you up, you might be left in a state where the way you're living your life becomes depressing. Steve Hennigan says, are you sparring on Thursday? I am not. I can't, mate. My knee is not good enough. It's it's not good enough because I did kickboxing 3 nights ago, and I set my recovery back. But thanks for the offer, mate. Living with codependent and narcissistic parents, one is dying. Any advice on how to cope? How do we cope with anything? Something is stressful. How do we cope with it? Being emotionally literate helps. Staying in touch with your emotions lets you know exactly where you're up to. So there's no nasty surprises in your own emotional responses. Being on top of your emotional flashbacks is obviously prerequisite for anything in life. And coping with difficult scenarios beyond that, I think a good philosophical outlook can be really, really helpful. So that's where philosophy comes in. And living in accordance with the discipline of being congruent with your values. So knowing what your values are and then choosing a moral philosophy and then living by it, and taking action by it, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's expensive, even if it's hard. Constantly taking the comfortable route all the time costs, in the end, costs a lot. Hella asks, how do you connect with the self-sabotaging part that needs healed after the acceptance? And there is no self-sabotaging part. What you might have is an infected superego, which is the part of you that operates higher than your ego, which is your persona, your functioning sense of self, the barrier between you and reality. And there's something above that that tells you what to do, that tells you what your value system is, that tells you what is right or wrong. If it is infected by abuse or trauma, it can start to malfunction. And instead of leading you in a good direction, it can lead you in a negative direction. And that will seem to you like self-sabotage. You'll be like, why am I self-sabotaging? Actually, it's a toxic superego that's telling you to go in the wrong direction. The way to deal with that, I have a course on it called Heal the Superego. Stroman says, all your courses have a no question asked 30-day refund. Yes. The only time I didn't do that was for a coaching course at the beginning of the year. But yeah, I mean, it's not even 30 days. I don't know how long PayPal, we say it's a 30-day refund, but however long PayPal lets us refund, it's not infinite, but it's a long time. It might be more like 90 days. But I would just, if the help desk ever says to me somebody asked for a refund, I just give it to them. Just give them a refund. You don't have to say why. Just say, please give me a refund, and they'll do it. Anne Welker says, your Heal the Superego course is amazing. Thank you very much. I agree. No false humility. I think it's a really, I wish I fucking had that course. I wish I had that course 5 years ago. That would have saved me so much shit. But such is life. God, with his hilarious sense of humor, lets you know what it is that you needed to know, like 2 minutes after you needed to know it. Tully Archer, our new moderator, says, a lot of these questions amount to how to deal with a specific emotion without getting lost in it. Yeah. The reason why I think that happens is for people who've suffered a lot of trauma, their internal boundaries get weak or non-existent. Just because of abuse, just because they get smashed up. So there's a lack of an ability to distinguish between outside and inside, thoughts and feelings, your thoughts and feelings and my thoughts and feelings. And so if you have a feeling and you have historically seen yourself with poor internal boundaries, you'll be like, well, it's going to just wipe me out. And what is it that helps you develop stronger internal boundaries? Developing emotional literacy. How to develop emotional literacy? Do I need to buy your course? No, you don't. You need to start by writing down 3 emotions that you felt today. Not people shouldn't cut me up in traffic, not people should this or people should. Nope, just 3 words that describe how you felt: sad, happy, disappointed, hopeful, connected, frustrated, whatever it was. Stroman says, thanks. Please don't buy my products with the intent of getting a refund, though. Like, give it a go before you ask for a refund. This week there'll be like a record number of fucking refunds that go through because of this. Please buy my products with the intent to make a sincere effort on everything. But yes, I'm not. It's just it's something that I was taught in business years ago, like 2009. I think I was taught that just refund people and just let it be known that like you've got a really easy refund policy because people talk, and so just do refunds. Oh, Nick Bravo, wow, I may have an infected superego. How do I heal it? The Heal the Superego course is a really good place to start. It does require some commitment. It's 30 days of doing exercises every day for 30 days. But Anne Welker says, get it. It's excellent. Thanks, Anne. Do I owe you money for this free marketing that you're doing? Red Pill Mao says, my mother passed 3 months ago and the narcissist father is living and confused. I see. What to do? Question mark, question mark, question mark. I don't know what to do with which part of that. Like, you've described the situation to me and then you've just gone, there you go, Richie. What do I do? I don't know. I'm not that type of life coach, mate. I don't really tell people. It's almost tongue in cheek that I call myself a life coach because I very rarely give like life coaching advice. I just go, yeah, here's some principles. This is what we work to. But what you should do, I have no idea. Depends on what your objective is. Depends on what you want to get done. Depends, how you feel about it. Nobody nowhere says it's 6 months. That sounds more like it. My maths is bad, but I'm pretty sure PayPal does 180 days, which would be more like 6 months. Could you recommend a therapist in Winnipeg, Canada? I have never been to Canada, nor have I been to Winnipeg. You don't need a therapist face-to-face in this day and age. You can just do Skype therapy. You can choose people from counselor lists and therapy lists. You can put therapy directory or counselor directory into Google, and there are various useful websites that will give you tags that you can look people up with for their specializations. Is being emotionally literate the cure for emotional flashbacks? Ask, switch off your devices. If you're going to get past it in a way that is profound and permanent and lasting, this is the way. I spoke to Pete Walker via email the last time about 5 years ago, but I wouldn't mind dropping him a line and just saying, hey, is emotional flashbacks, is it, do you think, directly related to unprocessed emotion, and would being more able to switch on the machine that processes, digests? I think of everything as like related to health, nutrition, and strength training. So it's like a digestive system, and it needs to be converted to energy, and it needs to be broken down. And so I developed the ideas of emotional literacy because I was back in therapy 3 years ago now with depression, and with the therapist I work with in Dublin, I found that I was totally emotionally illiterate. I had like 3 feelings ever, or 4 or 5. It's some ridiculously small number. And when I started doing that work, which I still do, by the way, it's not finished. I still find myself needing to do an emotional literacy exercise once every 2 weeks. Like, I need to do it. I'll be like, okay, I'm on something here. I need to do this right now. But I noticed that. So I developed this stop emotional flashbacks technique, and it was kind of like it was more combative. It was like, flashback come, flashback go away, flashback come, flashback. Flashback comes, you do more of the exercise, and then the flashbacks go away, and then the flashbacks can come back, and then you do more of the exercises, and it's like, wow, man the walls, man the walls, the enemy's approaching, and then it goes away again. Whereas the emotional literacy just kind of made it less confrontational and more just like sliding those pieces off the table. Like that's just like, it changes something. It changes something in a much deeper way, so that the emotional flashback is emotional flashbacks are not authentic emotions. They are the echoes of emotions from a traumatic period of life that may have gone on for years. So they're not, an emotional flashback is not, is a flashback. The key word, I guess, like one of the key words is flashback. So it requires a stimulus, a trigger, and like acid, you would hear the music that you're on when you're on acid, or you'd start to trip. That's a acid flashback. A PTSD flashback, you'd smell the smell of like a particular thing that was there, like the fuel that you could smell when you were the victim of a violent assault and you got kicked to the floor, and you were on the floor and you could smell, I don't know, the fumes from a taxi or something. I'm just making it up as I go along. So it's a flashback. So these things are not, or they're not about now. They're about the past, and there is confusion around that. So you can feel angry today, and that's not a flashback. They'll be like, "Well, isn't you said you don't get emotional flashbacks, but you got angry? Like that wasn't a flashback. That's I'm angry now. Like I'm angry today about stuff that's happening now, and it's not a disproportionate or weird response where you're riddled with emotional flashbacks. You go to buy milk and you get angry. You wait for the bus and you're suddenly overwhelmed with feelings of guilt or something. So you're extremely emotionally dysregulated when you're riddled with emotional flashbacks. So emotional literacy, you're now addressing your emotions and you're saying, "Hey, messenger, come in. Welcome into the great hall of the castle. What news from the fucking border?" And they'll tell you, they'll say, "This is my message." And if it's anger, there'll be an angry messenger with an angry message. If it's sadness, there'll be a sad messenger with a sad message. If it's, and some of the messengers are charming and they feel good. Like when the message of love pops up, some handsome, youthful fop comes in with a harp and sings you a fucking love ballad, and you go, "Oh, that's lovely. What a cheerful chap. Give him a leg of horse or something as a reward." But when anger comes, he or she shows up aggressive, demanding. And anger is a very demanding emotion. It's like, stop everything and listen to me, because jealousy is a certain thing, and so we start selecting. So I'm saying with emotional literacy, don't select. Just like, it's all good, it's all okay, all the messages are positive, all the messengers are positive. Let them speak, listen to them, and then you've got it. You've heard the message. Thank you. I feel this way. Thank you for telling me. And sometimes I'll even do that. I'll even say it like out loud. I'll be like, "Okay, thanks, but that's enough. Like, I don't need to be angry. I don't need to be angry about that for the next 2 hours. I got your message. I heard it loud and clear. Oh, thank you very fucking much. I don't need to have a temper tantrum about this. There is a problem here. There is a boundary that needs asserting. Something must be done, and it needs to be done in this way, and it needs to be. Thank you. Got it. I'll handle it. I'll handle it now. I got your message. You can fuck off." Feed and water his horses and send him on his way. Can he have a leg of horse? No, he can have a moldy apple. uh, so you're addressing how I amuse myself. That you're addressing the authentic emotions and you're encouraging them, and in that light of your consciousness and your encouragement, they grow. So you grow authentically and emotionally. You grow in the capacity to feel authentic emotions. It's a wonderful experience. I've been saying since the development of the emotional literacy course, please do it. The quality of your consciousness changes, and I don't mean that in some hippy dippy fake way. The only thing I can relate it to is when I was a kid and I was, being forced against my will to do Zen meditation for an hour or so. Pure, silent, unmoving Zen meditation under the auspices of the terrifying and world-renowned Aikido sensei Terry Ezra sensei, who lives I'm from Bevington. His dojo's in Birkenhead. I just got lucky. But walking away from the Zen torture, you have this laser-like focus, and the world does look clearer. Colors are brighter, sounds are clearer, and you are more present. But it fades, and if you don't do the meditation, it kind of never really comes back. With the emotional literacy, it's like that. If you're doing it regularly, and you got to remember, I am mad. So if I do, and I'm obsessive. So if I do something, I'm doing it with discipline. But that's part of the ethos. That's part of, like, Terry Ezra said, Ezra Sensei said to me, if you want to get good at Aikido, you need to strengthen your forearms and strengthen your wrists. And I was like, well, what's the best way of doing that? And he was like, well, usually on any given day, I'd make sure I do at least 1,000 bokken cuts. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Have you ever swung a bokken? If you swing a bokken, it's a wooden training sword. It's not, you've lifted up, it's not that heavy, but swing it 20 times and tell me how you feel. Swing it with form. Have an Aikido instructor or a Kenjutsu instructor show you how to swing it with form. So it's boring to go into the technique, but like you do a cut 1,000 times a day. But guess what? When you do that, you build new neural pathways. And that's what strength training is like. And that's what martial arts training is like. And that's what, if you want to get good at yoga, that's what that's like. If you want to get good at gymnastics, that's what that is like. And if you want to get good at Spanish, and if you want to get good at playing the fucking piano, and if you want to get good at cooking, it doesn't happen in an afternoon. It's not the same as downloading an app. You've got to do it and do it and do it and do it and do it until you develop new neural pathways. And only repetition, trauma, or psychedelics seem to have the ability to do that. So of all of them, the safest is repetition. So that's why I'm like, do it every day. Do it 5 times a day. You will develop new neural pathways that lead you in the right direction. So is it a cure for emotional flashbacks? It's more than a cure for emotional flashbacks. It clears the deck and makes emotional flashbacks defunct. It makes them, it sort of, in the emotional flashbacks, you've seen me on other videos talk about how the self in trauma shrinks back into a cave and then gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it moves to the back of the cave, but the trauma still comes, so it finds a little hole in the back of the cave. So it shrinks, goes into that tiny hole at the back of the cave, and then renders itself invisible. So there's no self left. In that empty cup, in that empty space, and all kinds of shit goes in. Emotionally abusive relationships, horrible political ideologies, horrible religious and cult-like ideologies slot into a dirty, empty, broken cup. Anything will fucking go. So, and in that space, hideous emotional flashbacks can take root and take place. But if you're present and you don't just fill that cave with the light, life, and color of you, but you leave the fucking cave and you are alive. Like, I'm alive. I'm not perfect, but I'm here. I wasn't before. I don't know where I was. I was probably at the back of the cave being an invisible maggot. But I'm here now, and I'm feeling, and I'm present. And it's just, it's not magic. I'm not saying it's a magic solution. Who is actually a functioning human being who's present. It's your absence. It's when, if we want to use woo terminology, which is like from multiple shamanistic and healing cultures from across the globe and through time, if you leave your body, spirits will possess it. So don't fucking leave your body. So that could be a metaphor, it could be literal, I don't care. It's not a debate I'm interested in the slightest having, because it leads nowhere. It's pointless. Don't leave your body. If you want to heal, you need to be present. Now, if your body was hurt and your mind was hurt, one way of dealing with it is to leave. So if you're going to progress, we need to call you back. You've got to come back into your body. got to actually inhabit yourself again. What is a safe way of bringing the presence of mind and the spirit and the self and the eros back into the flesh house? It's that emotional literacy exercise he keeps banging on about ad nauseum, isn't it, Mother? Yes, it is. He won't stop, you know. He's going to keep saying it. What are your thoughts on attachment theory? The attachment theory hypothesis, lol, is a good one. It seems to be, it seems to be right. It seems to be right. It clearly is right. So yeah, I like that. How do I improve communication with others and increase social intelligence? This is the last question I'm going to answer. How do you increase social intelligence? I'm so boring. I'm so repetitive. Listen, your social intelligence is an aspect of your, I said before, the animal in me knows the animal in you. That's the aspect of your innate nature, which is related to your animal self. Your intuition is directly related to your emotional literacy. You will become more socially intelligent automatically if you're more socially literate. What we call, or it's no longer called this, I believe, Asperger's or autism spectrum disorders, is extreme emotional illiteracy. But think about it. As I started the beginning of this talk by saying, the way that your parents love you is the way you love yourself. The way your parents treated you when you're little kids is the way you love yourself. If I'm also similarly, as an adult, very shut down with myself and my emotions, and I can't read my own feelings as a result of trauma, it becomes very hard to read the feelings of others. And you go, well, this person's not very empathic. Or even like sometimes people with their autism spectrum disorders are misdiagnosed, or their friends or girlfriends will think, oh, this person has a narcissistic personality disorder. Not so. It's just that, how am I going to read the subtle cues of meta communication that let me know that you need love, that let me know that you're sad, that let me know you're not happy with the decision that I just made, or that you need more from me right now, if I'm not even reading my own subtle cues? If I'm cut off from myself and my own emotions, I'm going to be cut off from everybody else's emotions as well. So social intelligence would be naturally developed by your emotional literacy. I am extremely socially intelligent. However, today I am Charlie Chatterton at the moment. I'm chatting to everybody. I'm just striking up conversations left and right. And I went to the gym, and I don't know what the fuck happened. I just started talking to some dude I've never spoken to before about something quite personal. You get 30 seconds into a chat with somebody, and then my brain caught up, and I was like, why are you talking to this massive, hard-looking fellow about this now? Like, and I'm like, it's too late. Like, I'm already in this fucking car. He looked really shocked, and I could see like a Schrodinger's cat moment where it was like, crush the little man's skull, or humor the little man, and then go on with your day. It was like, the fuck is this huge dude? And what I said was bordering on inappropriate, and he would have been justified in being pissed off at me, and he chose to take it in good humor. But it was like 30 seconds after the conversation had begun, I went, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I was like, okay, let's find a way to wrap this conversation up and get the hell out of here. But yeah, generally speaking, apart from today, no, it will make you more confident, because I think it comes from compassion. I think it, like, in the not Western Buddhist sense, not in this fake, forced, posturing bullshit way, just like, life is annoying, my back hurts, that. And so because of that, I kind of feel these days like I just have the right to speak to people. And so I start from that place, and I'm not like pushy or nasty or anything. I'm just like, hey, I see you also have a spine. It hurts sometimes, doesn't it? Yeah. Does she also have a head? I get head. Do you get headaches as well? There's like this I'm just living in this universal space of like universal human experience. Surely everybody would just be happy to talk to me. And then today I got 30 seconds in and I was like, this guy really could have gone. Thankfully, he went the right way. So obviously the animal instinct in me, so like the animal in me, did it before I could consciously think. It was like, talk to him, that's okay, or talk to him even like this will be a useful interaction and it will work out well, which it did. Like he was smiling by the end of it, but the civilized part of me was going, what the fuck are you doing? Don't do that. Stop. Just stop. Just chill. So yeah, develop your emotional literacy. Your social intelligence will follow. If you accept yourself, you can accept other people. Do you see the recurrent themes? And also Brown Paper Bag by Ronnie Size. You should listen to that because it's a good drum and bass track. It's a classic. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and for your attention. I hope that was useful. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. Please hit the like button because I don't know, there's something with the YouTube algorithms, an amazing thing. And I look forward very much to speaking to you again soon. Please leave a comment and let me know what you thought. And if you have any more questions, let me know and I'll try and answer them next time. Cheerio.